Blessed love and peace in Rastafari. Yo, I just spoke for the past 20 minutes and it wasn't even recording. Um, don't know how that happened, actually, to be honest, because it was recording at some point. But I shared much of the spiel. I was actually fumbling for some things and articulating some things. So I found a way of describing it, and perhaps I can do it further expediently and succinctly at this moment. Whilst, anyway, all right, focusing. Oh, the first thing I mentioned is that we are cultivating a weekly podcast with what our kinfolk, with our brethren and sisterin at What's Out Media. A weekly podcast, or I don't even want to call it a podcast, but just a weekly convo reasoning for 3 hours, 3 horas, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. No, we'll work on international clock from 9 a.m. to 12, hour 12. Atlantic Standard Time, which is not manipulating the clock. So we don't do the Eastern Standard Time in our walk in terms of Asona Ashram and Sangha Yosef. So at the moment, for the local time, Eastern Standard Time, it's 8 a.m. So 9 a.m. to 12, we share some affirmations, ancient knowledge, wisdom about self, knowledge of self. And then from there, sharing some songs, sharing some stories that are topical of interest to, again, provide some affirmation, positivity, and then and opening up the lines for communication. So kinfolk can call in, ask questions, challenge things, reason for a few hours, and there it is. The intentionality with this is, one, sharing a sovereign mindset, what that is, what it looks like, how it's cultivated, and how to share it. Sovereign mindset, and then in general, just popping off the week with positivity, beginning the week with some positive thoughts that guide and inspire kinfolk in each one's trod and each one's time sheets or time schedules, time clocks, time, and just building this convo collectively. So that's what it is. We're just doing it. We've talked about this for the past year, particularly over the past few months. We've done some things, having some convos through the past year. So we're endeavoring this weekly joint, and we'll see how it goes. Inshallah, Bezut Hashem, God willing, Jayom. So that's the beginning joint. So there are 3 topics that I share at this moment. One is on I was just fumbling on it for the past 20 minutes. What's the topic? It's talking about 3 options in life. Oh yeah, this is the printer maintenance issues right here. Printer management, we say. So first topic is 3 things, 3 choices: hate and destroy, self-destruction, and painfully love. The second joint is masculine energy, and the third joint is sovereign mindset. So on that first topic, hate, destroy, self-destruction, or painfully love, those are basically 3 options in life of how to live, how to associate with others, build community, and engage in relationship with this earth, with this universal, with this natural universe, this infinite universe, with all life of earth and universe. So when we discern within ourselves what it is that we want for ourselves respectively, even collectively, then identifying, observing, and discerning the behavior, the intentionalities, the commitments of the life around us, what other kinfolk are doing, whether other kinfolk are involved in hating and destroying others, whether other kinfolk are involved in self-destruction, whether other kinfolk are involved in painfully loving. What does hating and destroying look like? It's killing, it's stealing, it's criticizing others, it's enslaving others, putting others in debt, doing adverse things to others. It tends to be specific towards groups outside of one's own specific group, and takes on a whole gamut of different types of manifestations. But that's what it is. Hating and destroying others, and living based off of that. The second one is of self-destruction. For those who don't want to hate and destroy others, and don't want to buy into the allegiance and obligations within a specific group, within a specific set specific set or specific clique, and then get enveloped in um, the schemes or whatever towards others. Don't want to do that. So then the one of the main alternatives is self-destruction. And that self-destruction may be quick. That self-destruction may be somewhat prolonged, but it's a certain it's a frustration with the world, of the unfairness or what is perceived as unfairness within the world, and a certain amount of like, I don't give a fuck no more, and just like behaving in a way that is self-destructing. And again, it could be very quickly, it could be very prolonged, and even beyond what an individual wants or what an individual intends. It's just that an individual is behaving irresponsibly, increasingly severely irresponsibly, and the consequence eventually is self-destruction. What does that look like? Addiction to alcohol, drugs, spending money, buying excessive things, excessive. Um, Uncommitted sex, and just wasting oneself, in the gratification. I mean, a lot of it looks like gratification. A lot of it looks like pleasure and fun. But when we look at beneath the surface areas and layers, and see what's happening further in the depths, we see the pain, we see the anger, we see the confusion, the fear, and the apathy, just giving up and not caring any further, not caring what happens, bringing others into that same thing, recruiting others into the same thing. Not everybody does it in the same way. Some people are further, oh, y'all need to do this, but some people are just like, whatever. But it's self-destruction one way or another. So that's the second thing. And for those who strive beyond the hate and destroy, and for those who strive beyond the self-destruction, there's painfully love. Painfully love. What does that look like? What does love? We get beyond the feels, because feels can be masked through charisma and tingles, and intoxication and drunkenness. So feels are important. Feels are relevant. Feels are needed. But when we're trying to draw line, when we're endeavoring to draw lines, make lines of distinction, and seeing cause and effect, and additionally, the feels are very blurry. And again, when the feels are of a high nature. By that I mean altruistic, purposeful, in the spiritual realm. And even we have to be careful always, but there's a higher purpose for feels, but at the same time, again, intoxications and temptations. So when we're making lines of distinction, it's beneficial to be as sober as possible. So when we look at, like, what is love, what is painfully loving, what is that, what does it look like? It's for us to, again, to answer that question, we do have to go beyond like reason and ration, to just even talk about the phenomenon of love. And so one of the ways of making it further tangible so that we can talk about it, in an effective way through this earthly experience of language, and additionally, one thing is to, like, well, what can you remember about a time when you know you were loved, or when you were very confident, have trust and faith of being loved? What does that feel like? What does that look like? Having food, somebody cooking a meal, somebody providing. And oftentimes it's a matter of somebody doing something for us. Oh, so selfish. But when we're young, that's oftentimes when our first and strongest experiences of trust within love, and that experience of nurturing. But we also see as adults, when we discipline ourselves and we open our eyes and minds in observing the truth within others, of people caring for each other. Again, altruism, giving without expectation, without strings attached or whatever else like that. True giving. This is what painfully loving is, because it's not easy. It's hurtful. There's betrayal. There's vulnerability. There's like, yo, we about to walk into something, and like, it just got to be what it got to be. And we got to trust in God. We got to trust in a higher purpose beyond ourselves. And that's part of painfully loving. Like knowing, yo, Cass is about to do dirty, and like we know they lying, we know they doing this, we know they doing that, but we have to lie. Now we don't have to like commit ourselves to impending, imposing, or whatever kinds of betrayal, whatever. But we also have to recognize that we can't absolutely hide from that either. And there's going to be hurt. There's going to be pain. There's going to be frustrations within ourselves. There's going to be the call for forgiveness towards others and also towards ourselves. That's part of painfully loving. So how do we distinguish that painfully loving from the other things of hating and destroying and from self-destruction? Well, hating and destroying, by and large, is a matter of like pointing fingers at others and again, killing others, stealing from others, saying, oh, all right, see, right now the water's frozen, the water tray is frozen, and the cardinal, you can hear the cardinal. It's a pretty young Sistine cardinal at the moment with that loud, bright, clear chirp. I didn't put the rice out yet. Come on, I'm so disappointed. Oh, come on, y'all, it's all y'all fault. No, it's my fault. But the water is frozen. So wait, no, it was a hint, as a teasing of drink. Look at that. I am tempting, and I am betraying at this very moment whilst I talk about it. The cardinal's like, yo, where's the food at? Yo, where's I heard this. You got some stuff here, because that's the first time I see this cardinal particularly. I can even recognize the cardinals. And the cardinals are very. The company of the cardinals is precious because it's not as common, at least here. All right. So, how do we look at? How do we see? How do we evidence what painful love is? First, doing it within ourselves, giving without expectation, giving without conditions, and that's cultivating it within ourselves. And when we do that within ourselves, when we're regularly doing it with ourselves, from our hearts. And when we're further trusted, now we're starting to feel what that is within ourselves. And again, it's beyond the feel. It's a sense beyond the senses. It's intuition is what it is, along those lines. When we get that within ourselves, it's easier to see within others and observe what others are doing, and also like decipher through the bullshit and propaganda of the hate and destroy. Because there are a lot of people who are doing things that look like painful love, but it's actually just like very, very intricate, long-term kind of methodologies of hating and destroying. And oftentimes of self-destruction as well. Devoting one's life to a charitable cause, knowing deep down like that charitable cause ain't doing nothing. It's just like propping things up. But devoting oneself to that and looking charitable is a way of just like doing the side hustle, or the side indulgences. And inviting others to doing that as well. So, anyways, it gets deep. It's intricate, but it's nasty. It's painful. It's love when we commit ourselves accordingly. So, the way we discern whether people are practicing painful love, and again, the purpose is not to be painful, but it's just recognizing like it's not some everything's happy kind of love. It's like, you gotta do this again, yeah. Haha. Painful love. So how do we see that within others? First, doing it within ourselves, and then when we look at others, and I mean, obviously, if somebody's going like this, what? That's not love right there. That's not what it is. And then to get beyond the self-destruction. Oh, have fun with us. Have fun with us. Yeah, that's not love. That's not love. So that we can better see that. And then when we start to see people who are being quote unquote charitable, giving, this, that, and the other, we can observe and say, okay, there's something here. And again, who are we to judge or whatever else? It's a matter about how we invest ourselves to build and share with others, because we've got to build, we've got to share within this life as these type of beings we are, those who understand and draw from this language. That's part of the necessity in this life. So we have to discern who we do that with, and that's a methodology for doing it, cultivating it within ourselves. And when we cultivate it within ourselves, we can better see the hate and destroy of others, the self-destruction within others, and discern the surface level expressions of love, and how much those surface levels of love are genuine and enduring, and then share accordingly. So that's the basic mathematics. That's the basic formula. That's the basic joint for this moment. That's numero uno. Which is hate and destroy, self-destruction, and painful love. So there's that. Numero dos, masculine energy. Here, all right. This is something new. This is something I'm precipitated, and it's beneficial for me to wrap this up very soon. masculine energy. It's beneficial to recognize, particularly, this is particularly for men folk to recognize this. How much men are attracted to masculine energy. I'm not talking about, well, the whole sodomy thing is involved, but I'm not talking about wanting to have sex with a man, but attracted to masculine energy. What does that mean? Example, like when brethren watch pornography, and see women having sex with another man, or having just sex by themselves, or just displaying the a woman's sexuality in an immodest way. There's oftentimes a severe amount of masculine energy. I might have to actually wrap this up very soon. That's an extreme amount of masculine energy. When a woman is being proactive in sharing her sexuality with a large number of dudes, when a woman is in pornography, there is like oftentimes a woman will be vocal, talking about what she wants, and she can be graphic, and she can just start talking about all the different types of stuff. That's masculine energy right there. That's masculine energy, particularly when it's through in a very public way that can be done with numerous dudes. That is viewed by numerous dudes. It's masculine energy, and when men do view that, even in private and everything, don't even talk about it with anybody else, whatever. But when men do watch women express women's selves in an increasingly masculine way, with increasingly masculine energy, men condition themselves to be drawn towards that, to be stimulated by that, to be attracted to that masculine energy of a woman. And then additionally, like just in the public sphere, when women dress immodestly, that's masculine in public, and display that sexual energy and that sexual energy and that activity in a public way, that's increasing masculine energy. When a woman is assertive in that respect, and talking about her interest in a man, and it doesn't even have to be explicit in terms of how she presents herself. She could be dressed everything, but when a woman wears pants, that's masculine energy. When a woman is bossing as a CEO or whatever else, telling other dudes what to do and everything else like that, you can take it. I mean, everybody has their own proclivities or whatnot, but one way or another, it's masculine energy. And so then that becomes increasingly normalized, and so it becomes a standard by which other women are compared and judged and valued. Then women are being valued for having and expressing a certain masculine energy. And there can be, and there is historically up through this day, a overcompensation of that masculine energy amongst women, by being further obvious and immodest and displaying women's sexuality to show, no, she's a woman. She still has breasts. She still has attractive physical features. She's still available for sexual intercourse, even marriage with a man. She's still interested in that amidst the masculine energy. When she's competing in this classroom with other men, that's masculine energy, plain and simple. Don't fool yourself. Get beyond the pimp talk. Let's be real. That's masculine energy. When women are competing to do the same things that men are doing, masculine energy, and men are conditioned to that. And again, it's not saying men want to have sex with other men. It's a matter of recognizing that what men eventually become attracted to within a woman is significantly influenced by the masculine energy that the woman is evoking or projecting. And that's important because obviously, essentially, basically, there is a balancing effect, because then a man has increasing amount of feminine energy, receptivity, passiveness, and additionally, and that factors into the personal dynamics within oneself, but then also the interdynamics in terms of relationship, and additionally, such that in the interaction between the man and the woman, in those conditions, a woman is increasingly authoritative in a masculine way, and the man is increasingly authoritative in a feminine way. So that there are concerns, particularly for brethren who don't want to be like that, and who want to find a relationship as a masculine man with a masculine authority, with a feminine woman with feminine authority. But it's beneficial to recognize the conditions before that. And I'm speaking exactly to myself in that respect. So, um, and they're overcompensations of a man with feminine energy of being further um, belligerent, being further um, reserved or withdrawn from any interaction, from being further promiscuous and conquering other women and showing his masculinity um, along those lines. But all of it is unhealthy. All of it is reduces the integrity and longevity of genuine, authentic, loving, nurturing, mutual, respectful, mutual supporting relationships. So that's a consideration with the masculine energy, feminine energy, and to recognize how it begins, how it's cultivated, and particularly for men within a man's self, so that men can adjust that accordingly, and with that adjust men's expectations, how men are attracted to what kind of women men are attracted to. And I'll give some personal anecdotes in that respect as I try to do this expediently. But one anecdote is recently in the past year I have the occasion of interacting with a young sister, and what I observe is that in the initial communication with this young sister, um, like there's vibes, but the way she talks is very coded, and the environment that we're in is comparatively what's it called, um, repressed. It's a repressive environment. Just the culture is repressive, so it's understandable. But at the same time, like speaking in code, like vibing, but at the same time, like not like what's with this code thing, and then like all the notions of um um what's that called? These words. Seduction. How about that? All these things of seduction through word play and games and hiding and back and forth and pushing and pulling and I'm trying to get away from these allegories, these like but like being very enthusiastic and then being withdrawn. I mean, all these different types of things. Well, it's not all different because there's a lot of feminine terms, but particularly the coded thing, the coded words, speaking in code, and like strong eye contact, like looking in an intense way, like that type of stuff. When I look back and get some distance from it, there's physical attraction because of the feminine energy that she has and the feminine sexuality that she has, but at the same time, the method of communication is very masculine. Just talking, like being assertive. I mean, and that's how many women are conditioned. That's just how things are, and so that's what people are acclimated to, and that's what men come to expect without even thinking about it. But when I look back, I just think to myself like the way she communicates is just with a lot of masculine energy, and again, encoded speak and like. The eye contact even is just like a certain like intensity that was further in that of a man, and so it's complemented again by her curves and her sexuality, so that there's a blurring of that, but again with some distance. And so Brian, like, well, hold up, that's this over here, but then this was this over here, because when I think about it and I'm reminded about it, the way a woman talks with feminine energy with a man is very different, soft, listening. And the way a woman communicates interest. Oh, so what happened in that situation is that at some point she communicates an interest in being with me and what I share, and additionally vibes, and additionally, and then at another point with others, there's like she didn't say nothing, but at the same time was like a different vibe, and again very much coded. And some of the what can be irrational in terms of code is to abstain from explicitly stating interest, to abstain from explicitly stating. Almost like contractually an intentionality, because there's a very sterile precepts, laws that govern people's interaction, so that people can mutually seduce each other. But when it comes to something serious, something committed, something on paper, then there's evidence of intentionality or interest or otherwise, and that evidence can be utilized as saying, oh, harassment, haha, how about that? And so that's the nature of personal relationship at this point, corporate level, academia, and further. So all of that is very much enveloped in masculine energy, and for women to be in that means women are behaving with that masculine energy, overcompensating perhaps with a feminine revealing of the feminine attributes, But still, the nature and the thing is to recognize that, and a man who is involved in that type of relationship, there's a recessivity, there's a passivity that's necessarily involved, and it's one of the things that allures a man into that kind of culture and environment is that when he receives a lot of attention and interest from other women, he doesn't have to do that much. He doesn't have to put in that much work because a woman being very forward and aggressive in terms of communication of interest, particularly in sexual interaction, with that masculine energy, man doesn't have to do much work at all. Yo, there it is, easy. And so it's very easy for a man to get lazy and not putting forth the work, not looking at the quiet signs, the subtle signs of feminine energy, and a woman, a feminine woman having a feminine interest in a masculine man. It takes much further work and further vulnerability, further assertiveness on a man's part, further responsibility of planning and arranging and providing, and additionally, than a woman who just takes care of herself. A woman who takes care of herself is steeped in masculine energy, facts. And so she may be further easy access for a man in many ways, as long as he can decode and maybe get her vulnerable or get her lonely or whatever else. And then there's the opportunity. But there's, whenever that's done, connected and enveloped in a whole nasty web. So I'm no better or worse than anybody else. I'm just communicating this for people's health and well-being. And I ain't perfect either. Let alone being better, I ain't perfect. And I'm learning and I'm doing my best. And so these are some of the notes. So I just recognize, when a woman is very attractive, particularly an adult woman is very attractive, but and very assertive, and there are challenges. So it's beneficial to be mindful of that, and particularly for brethren, for men, to recognize that when men have an interest in having a relationship and a marriage with a feminine woman, that she's not going to be as assertive. She's not going to be as obvious. Because there's a lot of vulnerability with that, and there's a lot of honesty with that too, and so it requires a man to put in work, and that doesn't mean catcalling and being disrespectful. He's got to put in work about knowing who she is, what she's about, what she does, who she's from, and everything else, to be able to approach appropriately and accordingly. So, because I mentioned that one example. There's another example. Like I know what it's like when I'm in my younger days, for a feminine girl to communicate, to have an interest in me, and her being shy and smiling. Even that smile could be like very, very pronounced itself, and like a huge sign of like her interest. But very often she's very shy, and the signs of a feminine woman's interest in a man, with a feminine woman with feminine energy having an interest in a relationship with a man, the signs of that are very different than a woman with masculine energy having signs. Because I'm going to just keep it at that. And for men, for those who have that kind of experience, to remember that and honor that, to nurture that, to support that, to strengthen that, so that a man can better recognize that nature and those tendencies, that behavior within a woman, femininity, feminine energy, and be proactive in his own masculinity, to cultivate relationship with such a woman accordingly, and to be sober through the beauties of woman, and to abstain from being unduly tempted and influenced and drunken and mistaken by the physical attraction of women, the amazing physical attractiveness of women, and deluding a man's self, a man's mind, to thinking different things about intentionality and possibility and loyalty within a woman, because of the envelopment within her charisma and physical attraction, and instead to observe within a modest woman the phenomenal feminine energy within herself, and to honorably communicate with her accordingly, to fulfill that interest in even that obligation of relationship, marriage, children, family, life. So there's the second joint. End of the third joint, comparatively briefly. Sovereign mindset, plain and simple. So many cats are on a plantation mindset. So many cats are on basically a slave mindset. That's a strong word, and I don't mean that to be derogatory. We could say a servant mindset, or a subordinated mindset, or a subjugated mindset. Um, but that's what it is. And many people who are talking about liberty, who are talking about freedom and this and the other, are very much enveloped in a subjugated mindset. And it's not a better than, worse than. It's just, again, facts. But the sovereign mindset is very different, and it's not a matter of being rich, and it's not a matter of conquering others. The sovereign mindset is just a matter of having a knowledge of self within ourselves, knowledge of the divine presence of the Most High existing within ourselves, of a sovereignty, a realm, an authority, a way of being, even a way of life that exists beyond this earth, and that shapes the nature and the conditions and the experience of this earth. And again, it's not a matter of trying to control anything else, because that's overcompensations of insecurity, of subjugation. So it's not the sovereign mindset. The sovereign mindset don't hate on nobody. The sovereign mindset don't try to put down nobody. The sovereign mindset does call out behavior that is unhealthy and hurtful towards others. But the true sovereign mindset, it supports everybody, loves everybody, recognizes as a part of as the oneness. So I say that because in these talks about solidarity, and these talks about community building, and additionally, the first thing for an enduring endeavor, let me say it, through my studies I see this, is a sovereign mindset, and for people to share the sovereign mindset. Because when people are when each person in such an endeavor has a subjugated mindset, and even trying to establish a mutual compact, even in that compact, the people are subjugated to other phenomena. So that compact itself is just leveraged and subjected. The compact itself is subjugated to all whatever who's ever controlling all the participants of that compact. And eventually, it might stay itself for a little while, but eventually, when those other entities say, "Yeah, no, we don't want you doing this no further," so then they just start to do leverages, pressure, withdraw certain things here, impose certain things there, and then that compact gets affected accordingly. So for that political compact, even economic compact, to be enduring and even authentic, the people who are participating must have a sovereign mindset, and that involves political autonomy, political independence from somebody else's claim, and for people to recognize at this moment, like kinfolk who are citizens of democracy, that's subjugated mindset, because when you observe what the hierarchies within a so-called democracy and that political compact, how such decision makers perceive the citizens is very much as slaves rather than necessarily as sovereigns. And there's a lot of propaganda that talks about the capabilities and liberties and freedoms and protections of citizens, but in actuality, it's just a premise for controlling, and it's very much a slave situation. It's a sense of ownership, and if you to better see that, try leaving the land, try going someplace else, and consider the doctrines of ownership that the democratic political compact proclaims upon the individual, the person. Ownership of the passport documentations, and additionally, and what people are able to do without those documents. How about that? Can you leave the continent? Can you leave the country without those documents? Can you travel to other continents? Are you accepted by other continents, by other nations without those documents? Who proclaims ownership of those documents? And then once somebody does proclaim allegiance or subjugation to the system of those documents, the political compact that precipitates those documents, here are the obligations: taxation, and abiding by the laws, and that's a whole nother topic. But the sovereign mindset, let's go of that. To be honest, like there's people. I don't mean to like, again, be derogatory or better than or whatever else like that. I'm not better than nobody. I'm not worse than nobody. Um, it's just the actuality. And I know, like, a lot of dear kinfolk want to be dual citizens, but that's other than the true sovereignty. And then there's a certain necessity. It ain't easy. There's a certain necessity within cooperating with the contemporary conditions of convention. And it ain't easy being sovereign from those or beyond those, and additionally. So it's extremely understandable, and there's strong reason for kinfolk to hold on to those precepts, but just to recognize that in doing so, there's subjugation, subordination, and that's different than the sovereign mindset. So, and the sovereign mindset ain't about overthrowing nothing. That's not the purpose. So for those that do want to live in a way that is optimally healthy, optimally peaceful, optimally cooperative, optimally harmonious with other peoples, there is the necessity of being in a political compact, an economic compact, formal or informal, that is explicit and derived from and cultivates and encourages a sovereign mindset. So there's a lot to talk about in terms of sovereign mindset, but I'm gonna leave it at that because I can just ramble on for the next and there's things to be done in this day. So with that being said, we give all thanks and praise to the Most High Elohim. Respect and honor to all our ancestors, all our prophets, all our sages, past and present, known and unknown. Respect and honor to His Majesty Haile Selassie I and Her Majesty Waizaro Manen. Respect and support to all our progeny, from the first 7 years to the next 7 generations, door for door. One heart, one mind, one perfect love supreme, with blessed love and peace in Rastafari. Assalamu alaikum, shalom aleichem, namaste, zaijian, adios, buenos tardes, zaijian. Isimpin asamudbu. Mado.